Hello and welcome to another episode of Marty's Matchbox Makeovers. This is one little model that I do not have in my collection, so I thought I'd give it a go. It's a No.25d Ford Cortina that came out in 1968. As you can see, whoever owned it before me, or possibly before the person that owned it before me, painted it blue. It's supposed to be a nice kind of goldy brown or a light tan with a metallic kind of tinge to it, and this looks pretty awful. Maybe it was painted blue because the person that had it had a family car, a Ford Cortina, that looked like this blue. These were a very popular car back in the 60s. I think every one of my mates' families had one. It's the Ford Cortina GT as well. Which surprised me. I mean, a Grand Tourer, this is not really. I mean, in England, most of my mates would go to the Isle of Wight or Stonehenge for a holiday. There was no touring as such. Anyway, let's have a good look at this. Underneath it says Matchbox Series number 25 Ford Cortina. It's blue. There's a little bit of over painting on the bottom there, a little bit of blue. And somebody's drawn a C in the corner with an indelible pen. Could be the mother when little Joey wanted to take it to school for show and tell, and she said, make sure you get it back. I'm going to put your initial on it. Anyway, having a look at it, back wheels are missing, tow hooks bent, which could be worse, could be missing. A lot of them are missing. The paint is pretty rough. I'm going to take all that paint off and redo it, obviously, back to its normal colour. Inside, the steering wheel is bent and there's a piece of paper in there which I thought was odd. Don't know how long it's been in there. I took it out, opened it up, and I actually think I might have written this. I'm not sure. It does look similar to my handwriting. It says Tony Sirrett ×4. So I don't know whether that means he donated 4 models or not. Anyway, looking in Roger Darkins' guide, you can see there was a special edition that came out with a roof rack on. I wasn't aware of that, so I thought I'd do a little bit more research. So now I'm looking into this Matchbox catalogue of the day. All it mentions is it's got auto steer. Let's have a look at that. Didn't realise just looking at it before. These doors are stiff. They feel like they're going to break. Oh, there we go. Yep. And the A in the brackets underneath, I believe that means auto steer too. Let's give it a go. It still works. 1968. It's 57 years old. It's still working. That's cool. This paint's quite easy to remove, but strangely enough, it looks like somebody actually stripped all the gold off underneath because there's no trace of the gold. So how did they do that? Obviously, they haven't pulled it apart because the rivet is original underneath. So all a bit of a mystery. There we go. This is a nice picture of it, the proper colour it should be. This is the Matchbox encyclopedia that I bought from on Facebook Marketplace from a bloke down the road. There we go, the 25D1 Ford Cortina. Simple little model. Now here's a picture of one that is for sale on the internet. And apparently these came out in a special series later on in life with a roof rack on it with 2 spare tyres and 2 spades. So I don't know if they're nipping down to the shops or going across the Gobi Desert. I don't know why you'd need 2 spare tyres and 2 spades. Anyway, I haven't got one of these roof racks, and I thought I'd have a go in SketchUp, trying to spend an afternoon, rainy afternoon, making up a model to print on my 3D printer. They're quite involved. When you look at it, you think, oh, this will be a simple thing. It would take me 10 minutes. But no, it took half a day and a lot of tweaking. And this is what it looks like. And I've got to print it out and see if it's similar to this other one that somebody's selling online. I couldn't get the tread on the tyres, though. It just seemed a little bit impossible because you can't sort of click on that half sausage tyre wall section. It's going to take 1 hour and 7 minutes to print 10 of these. That's the theory. I thought I'd print 10. Maybe someone would like them. So 1 hour later, this came out of the printer. You can see there's only 9. And coincidentally, there's a scratch on my build plate that I made early on after purchasing it. After like a couple of days I scratched it, and that's the one that failed. So the scratch probably meant that it didn't adhere to the build plate correctly. Anyway, I'm at 9, which is good enough, more than I need. You can see you had to put in some supports here. When you're printing it, if there's an overhanging piece and it's not supported, it can form incorrectly. So you have to put these little legs in to hold things up. And the program shows you where there's the risk of the lack of a support. It colours it in red for you, so it's idiot proof really. After you print these out on my particular machine using a resin printer, you have to sort of clean them up in some isopropylene and then expose them to ultraviolet light to set the resin because it's UV sensitive. Back to the model, I've got to make up a colour similar to the light brown metallic tan colour of the day. I've got this gold leaf and some copper. Not sure if I'm going to be able to pull this off or not, but I'll give it a go. Anyway, first up I've got to take this rivet out as per norm. Just with this little drill. And I just want to drill in there so that the outer donut of the rivet drops off. And then I can put a screw in there afterwards, a domed headed screw, to replace the missing donut, if you can see what I'm talking about. Get me drill out and it's flat. Can you believe it? So this has set everything back 20 minutes. So I plug it in and charge it up. And here we go. I'm back into it again. I actually go up another size on the drill. I was kind of drilling through the middle of the donut and it didn't want to sort of disappear as quickly as I wanted. So that's practically disappeared. There's still like 2% of it left. Hopefully I can just separate it with a little bit of leverage with a flat bladed screwdriver like that. Okay, there's only one rivet. The front is connected to the body with a couple of protrusions on the bumper bar there that go into slots. So that's a great design by Matchbox. Just taken out the interior. This has been in here for 57 years. Look at it, it's grotty. A bit dirty, isn't it? I don't know. I hope I didn't bend that steering wheel and I pushed that. If it was me that pushed that sticker in there, or piece of paper, whatever it was, for Tony Sirrett's name written on it. All a bit of a mystery. Next up, the windscreen coming out. Bit of a burr there. Go again. Very iffy this. If you try and force it, it's a good chance you're going to crack it. So best to take your time. Let's have another go here. Just light finger pressure and there she pops out. Lovely. There is actually a crack there. A number of these have cracks already when you pull them apart. It's quite common. Here I'm showing you that spring that holds the doors in position. I'm just trying to pull that out. Quite tight. Quite a tight fit. There we go. Nothing wrong with that though. So here's all the bits. The base I'm going to leave semi-assembled. Just giving myself extra work if I take that plastic suspension plate off. I've only got to put it back on again, which can be awkward. Before I paint this, I must remember, sometimes I forget to drill and tap the rivet post and put a screw in there. See, if I don't do it now and I do it later, I run the risk of scratching all the paint and undoing all my hard work. It's happened to me before and I've kind of learnt from my mistakes. That is ready for paint stripping. I've just noticed something. I didn't notice that before. Holy. And this one here, I didn't really notice the A-pillar's missing. A bit annoying, but not the end of the world. I'm going to have a shot at fixing that with a split pin. The leg off a split pin, or a cotter pin, some people call them. First up, I'll paint strip it. Got a new Fitch brush. I do like those brushes. They've got sturdy, straight bristles, and they're great for this part of the makeover. They're great for getting in all those edges, and with a bit of force too, because these, like I said, the bristles are quite thick and sturdy, and some brushes are too soft. Now you need something a little bit aggressive when you're taking the paint off, and these brushes are perfect for it, I've found. Anyway, here is what I'm talking about. There is the legs of these split pins are absolutely made for replacing A-pillars on these models. They are perfect size. They're flat on one side and curved on the other, just like the original casting. So all you do is just cut them to size, force them into place gently, and then using a bit of muggy weld and some flux. In theory, it should be a 2-minute job. I don't profess I'm good at this. Sometimes I wing it, and today was one of those days. Just enough heat in the model, not to melt the model, but just to allow the solder to run. Looks a bit messy, but it's quite easy to clean up if you've got loads of like needle files like I have. So that's the bottom done. There's the top, and it's only at this stage I noticed that the other one needs attention as well. Right there, that's cracked. A bit annoying. Have another shot at that one. Oh, it's a good feeling. When it works, it works. Muggy weld. Pretty good. I've had a few wins with this. Sometimes you have to do it a couple of times. Sometimes, like I said, you get lucky. And now I've got all these little files, and I've got to spend an hour, maybe a little bit more, grinding down all the excess. Also use a little bit of Tamiya filler to just try and make it look as good as new. It's very tempting to take shortcuts here, but it's worth spending the time if you want this to go into a display cabinet and look as original as possible. I do go the extra mile. Anyway, after all that fussing around, this is the bit I like, the undercoat. Tamiya undercoat. It's one of the favourite parts of the makeover for me, because it highlights all the details in the model, and we can have a look at it together in a minute when it's dry. But until then, I'm using these doors, which I didn't paint strip. I actually forgot to do it, which is quite fortunate really, because now I've got a good sample of the colour that I've got to try and match. And I was going to use the two goldy colours, but looking at the shade of the brown, it's very light, so I'm starting with the silver, or the chrome. Might be chrome. So that's a bit of brass or copper. Copper. I don't know if I can't remember if I put gold in. I know I had it there. Let's see. It's really not changing colour. It can be frustrating sometimes. I don't want to waste a load of paint either. I do waste a lot of paint generally. doing this, and I'm mindful of it. And okay, it's getting there slowly. I don't know if there's a specific technique for mixing metallic or matching metallic paints, but I don't know what it is. I just wing it. A bit of copper, a bit of gold, a bit of silver, a bit more gold. And an hour later, I have the perfect colour. Wow. If you look in Roger Darkins' guide to Matchbox models, it always says things like various shades of grey, various shades of blue. Well, with this one it said various shades of metallic brown. So I think I've ticked the box. That should do it. I'll seal it up and set it aside, and then I've got to paint strip these doors and undercoat them. Here we go. That was a 5-minute job. Have a look at some of the detail. Look at that. You've got the little button there you push to open the door. It is so small, it's less than the size of the shank of a needle. This one is R5, which I think means right door, maybe version 5. The other one had L1, which stands for left one. So that's the left one, and the other one's the right one. I've got the little window winder there as well, that cast in the door. Something that maybe a child wouldn't notice. I'm just looking at that there, and I can see in the A-pillar, under this magnification, I've missed a little bit of product there that I should have got off. Might give it another sand before I paint it. Let's have a look at the detail here on the back, the fuel cap and the number plate. All you number plate enthusiasts out there, you can check that number plate out, see if it's genuine. There's a nice little touch there to stop the doors from swinging inboard too far. Now on the back there's a little square, or a shield if you will, and I thought, what is that? And I got this picture offline. It's actually a GT badge. Remember I said the Grand Tourer? Like families in England going to the Isle of Wight or Land's End. And this is what the GT badge should look like. So that's what that represents on the back. Nice little detail by Matchbox. I just cleaned out my spray gun, run some thinners through it. Now look at this, it looks like gold now. I've got to give it a good old stir to mix all those colours up again. And there we go, it's now that metallic tan. Okay, I got one shot at this. I didn't really mix up enough paint to go again if I stuff it up. But I'm pleasantly surprised that it went on quite well. Nice even coverage with a uniform colour throughout, which is always a good thing. So I just do the doors and set them aside, holding them in these like spring-loaded hemostats, or they're actually self-locking surgical tools, I believe. They're great. If you haven't got any, I would recommend you get them because they are brilliant for this kind of thing. So these are the luggage racks that I 3D printed, and the originals were yellow. So I thought I'll give them a quick spray of yellow paint, see what they look like, see if they look like the originals. I don't know what it is. They just looked fake to me. I'm sure they look very similar to the originals, but they just looked a bit fake. So here's the first one I did. It was too big. The second one, the wheel fell off. It wasn't adhered. It wasn't touching the roof section. The third one looked pretty good. The fourth one is undercoated, and the fifth one is top coated, to give you an idea of the transition from the basic design to the finished product. A few tweaks on the way. Turned out not bad. Here's that 57-year-old interior, a bit mucky, gonna have to clean that up. Now this was bent down, twisted by some heavy trailer that had been towed by this car. And I straightened it up by heating this bolt with a flat on it. And then I placed that there like that and held it down with a wooden spatula onto the hot metal, and it straightened it out. I just didn't film it, so I'm showing you now after the fact how I did it. Now, it always annoys me when kids have painted their cars as kids, and it's always over the windscreen, and to try and get these looking as good as possible, obviously gonna have to try and get all that paint off. So first I just tried straight poly watch. See, I've never actually tried it on paint before. Let's have a look at the cotton bud. There's a little bit of blue coming off, but I'm going to be here for hours if I'm relying on that. So instead I try a wooden toothpick. These are good because they don't scratch the plastic, and generally they can just cause flakes of paint to come off. I had some progress there, but in the end I decided to go back to the old technique of using some brake fluid, thing you top up your brake cylinder with in the car, and it's quite good. I can't remember where I read it or when I heard it years ago now, but somebody mentioned it. It doesn't damage the plastic of the transparency, but it gets the paint off. So it's a great choice. And I would never have thought of it, like a petrochemical product on these clear plastics. I was always thinking that it's going to ruin them, but it doesn't. Actually brings them up pretty good. So I finished up with the polywatch to give it a bit of a shine, and then I do the old dunk in the self-shining floor polish, which is the icing on the cake with these things. As long as you don't leave too much on there, because it can pool and leave like a sort of a cloudy patch on it if you're not careful. That's why I've got that tissue paper in the bottom there to try and suck any excess off around the edges so it doesn't pool. Anyway, it is really, really hot today. I've got the aircon going, but it is still boiling hot. Now I'm going to go down and check the weather. We've got a weather station down here. I'm going to check it, see what the temperature is outside. We've got the cooling on down here, the front door open. It is currently 41.5 degrees C outside. No wonder I'm sweating. One good thing, it dried this pretty quick. I think 5 minutes later I can handle this. Not too bad. Very difficult to get all of the imperfections out. I'm just showing you here, I'm using this feeler gauge with a hole drilled in it, so I can use a Dremel with a grinding stone in it to get the end of the axle off, to remove the axle from the model, so I can polish it up and make it look good. This is something I call the hub guard. It's not really, it's just something I made up. That pulls out there from underneath that suspension piece. Also the auto steer ears are on that. I'll put that back on the tool board for next time. Handy little thing. Now I only had one axle and wheel, a set of wheels for this model, but because I've got loads of spares, I've managed to find some compatible ones to use to put this thing back together. So that's good. Underneath on the base, a little bit of blue paint there, so get that off with a cotton bud and some paint stripper. I'm going to try and polish the base up and make it look like it's come out of the box brand new. Quite difficult task really. I know it's doomed to failure. I've tried to do this many times, never got it looking perfect. There's always some form of imperfection in it. The cotton buds I was using, it must be cheap. They were falling apart real quickly. The last batch I had must have been more expensive ones because they lasted a long time. These ones are useless. So I'm going to have to get some good ones. I turned to the Dremel with the little polishing sponge on the end of it, brush. Again, there is a mark there that will not come out. The front is adequate. The base is better than it was. I've washed the interior, not the, although it doesn't look it in that picture. Here's all the bits ready to go back together. Quite a boring little model. Has the added play value of the opening and closing doors. With the roof rack is a little bit more exciting, I guess. So I'm just going to put the wheels back on and peen the end of the axles over using these hollow punches in a drill press. Now ordinarily when I do this, you got a fat end of the axle and a thin end. The fat end is like formed in the factory, like it's like a mushroom end. The other end is the end that is peened over to hold the wheels on. I usually have both mushroom ends on the same side, and I do it consciously because it displays better if it's equal to look at from the side. You know, the hubcaps are the same size, front and back. Well, on this model, I'm a little bit annoyed with myself. I sort of dropped the ball and lost my focus, and I didn't actually do it on this model, and I think it might be the only one in my collection where the axle ends are more like the original actually, because I've noticed a lot of the originals come with mushroom head and no mushroom head on each side of the model, almost like in the factory they rotate it 180 degrees as they're doing this, what I'm doing now with a proper tool though. It works well. It doesn't look that bad because the difference is very minor, but it just plays on my OCD a little bit. And I thought I can't be grinding it down and going again because the axle will end up too short. And I want to get this out by to the end of today. So I solder on regardless. Now, the roof racks I printed were in grey resin, and I'd ordered some yellow and it hadn't come. And now, today, when I'm nearly finished this model, the yellow resin turns up. So I thought, well, I'm going to have a go at printing some roof racks in yellow. And I'll do another 10, I thought. If anybody wants one in the yellow polymer, I shall probably sell them on eBay if anybody wants them, and I'll give you the details later. Anyway, what happened here, I wanted 10 and it only printed 6. And sometimes you have a win, sometimes you have a minor fail. This was a minor fail. For some reason, it's supposed to be self-leveling, but possibly it didn't self-level. That's why 4 of the roof racks didn't adhere to the build plate. So I'm putting this thing back together again now, and just a little dab of silicone to hold the windscreen in. It did squish out a little bit there. I'm not a fan of that, so I'll quickly get rid of that little excess. That's good. That's good. Got the spring back in. That was a little bit of stuffing around. Now the doors. Important to put the spring in before you put the doors in. That's my tip for the day. And I go in actually, I'm scared to push on it that much really, but I guess in the factory you just whack them in because you'll be doing 100 a day. and they actually fit quite easily, but I'm just being a little bit gingerly, being a bit ginger, no, just being careful. I've got to take that out. Remember, I put that in to stop the hole from filling up. After you thread the hole, I have in the past sprayed the model without putting that in, and you got paint in there. It can be annoying. You have to re-tap it. I always leave the screw in these days, if I remember to, and it's good because it's colour matched to the model as well at the end. Now this was a little bit awkward. Trying to get this back end to close. I could not fathom why it was so difficult to close. And I tried multiple times. Trying to put a lot of pressure on it. Eventually I got there. What it was I had to bend the back of the base up slightly. Somehow during the process of pulling it apart, I bent the base slightly. So I had to bend it back up, and it fitted quite well after that. I was a bit confused at the time. So it's back together again. Everything functions. Doors open and close freely, which is good. Nice paint job. Clean interior, clean windscreen. Just got to put some chrome on the end of these axles. You can see there, the one at the back's larger than the one at the front. Annoying. Anyway, here's a reminder of what I started with when I undertook this model. And this is what it looks like now. I must admit, it's a boring model. I mean, the doors open and close. Whoop-de-doo. But it's one that I haven't got in my collection. I have now. And stick it on the shelf. Man on a galloping horse will look at it and think, wow, it's brand new. Not the best outcome, but adequate. It's been such a hot day today that I'm thinking I'll take a quick trip down to the local, the Black Swan, and have a couple of coldies. And what do you know? Julie beat me to it. And remember, kids, don't drink and drive. Alright, here is the first original roof rack painted yellow. It goes on beautifully, and actually the model's starting to look a little bit more interesting. I might just leave it on. At least it detracts the eye from any imperfections of the model. So here, for comparison, is the one on the left was grey, and the one unpainted, and the one on the right that I'm clicking on now was just straight out of the printer with the yellow resin. Still don't understand why they want two wheels and two spades. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe and recommend to your friends. And if you'd like one of these 3D printed roof racks that I made, I shall be putting them on eBay, and the link will be in the description. So until next time, this is Marty from Marty's Matchbox Makeovers, saying thanks for watching and goodbye.